Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker, kia ora tātou te whare. Tēnei te pātai, kei te whakaae ia ki tā local government New Zealand I kōrero nei. Ka raru te manapori I Aotearoa, mēnā ka riro mā ngā council control organisations te mana whakapau, I ngā piriona tāra neke atu mō ngā ratonga Kāwanatanga, ka aha tāna whakautu I aua whakapae, me wera hoki a mana whenua, o te whakatūranga o te kaunihera hau o te Supercity ki Tāmaki Makaurau.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No. Democracy is not threatened by the government proposals. CCOs are service delivery mechanisms. CCOs already exist under the local government framework, and many councils use the method of service delivery. For example, Wellington City Council has 9 CCOs managing water supply, stormwater, the waterfront and stadium, as well as the city's economic and tourism development. CCOs are council-controlled organisations. Councils control them. That's what the name means, and that's what the Local Government Act 2002 provides for.
Tēnei Harawira.
He hato te mini te whakaaro, e pāna ki te rangatiratanga I roto I te manapori o te mana whenua, ara ko rātou ngā kaitiaki o te whenua e te wai no mua no atu.
The Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in answer to that question, recognised in the local democracy by the Auckland Council and indeed the local boards that will be elected across Auckland by the people of Auckland. And if the member had attended the Auckland Governance Select Committee, if he'd attended the Auckland Governance Select Committee on the third bill, he would have understood how that would operate and indeed be encouraging Māori to stand for the local boards and the Auckland Council.
Tēnei Harawira.
He aha tāna whakautu ki ngā mānukanuka o te kai whakapanau ngā aiwi e pāna ki te kore whakaae ki ngā tūru motuhake Māori me te whakaaro ki te whakakore I ngā rōpu tautoko moiwi kē hei te paunga o te toru tau e aiki aia ko te hua e pēnei ana. The Auckland Council will be less diverse than its predecessors. Community boards will have little or no decision-making power, and this will lead to continued disaffection by, rather than inclusion of Auckland's growing diverse communities.
The Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Mr. Speaker, I've already commented on the surprising comments by the Race Relations Conciliator as the leader of the ACT Party, and what I said was, Mr. Speaker, is that I was surprised that a person advocating human rights would be advocating separate seats to a democratically elected council, because the idea that you would deny people an opportunity to stand for certain seats because of the tribe to which they belong to, or indeed the colour of their skin, is an anathema to the ACT Party.
Question of Phil Twyford.
Why did the Minister say that the Auckland Council could meet and sack one or all of the people on the CCOs, people he will have appointed, when he knows that it would open up the Auckland Council to massive damages if they sacked directors without reasonable cause?
The Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Mr. Speaker, because it's true. CCO directors will be appointed by and accountable to the Auckland Council. They're not employees of the Council. The directors can be removed by the Council. The new CCOs are likely to be set up as companies and I refer the member, and subject to Section 156 of the Companies Act 1993. There's also provision in the Local Government Auckland Law Reform Bill for the Council to remove directors from Auckland Transport. If any of the CCOs are trusts, then I'd expect the trustee to set out the provisions for the removal of trustees because they'll be existing trusts.
Phil Twyford.
Does he agree with media commentator Russell Brown, who said this morning in relation to council-controlled organisations that the Minister is telling flat-out lies about this stuff?
The Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, but I don't believe I've ever agreed with the so-called media commentator Russell Brown. So again, that shouldn't be a surprise.
Supplementary, Phil Twyford.
Does he still think that this is the change Aucklanders want when his bill is opposed by Len Brown, John Banks, Andrew Williams, Mike Lee, Local Government New Zealand, Michael Barnett, the New Zealand Herald, the Aucklander, suburban newspapers and a majority of Aucklanders in a Herald poll who recently said they did not want to be part of his super city?
The Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Yes, indeed. And I just remind the member about what he said about Auckland and the failure of the previous government in 9 years to fix it up. And what I know, Mr. Speaker, is that Aucklanders are appreciating... They're appreciating a government that takes Auckland serious, is addressing the issues of local government, and I can tell this to the member, that Aucklanders...
Order. I think it's leading to more disorder, and we've heard a reasonable answer from the Minister already, I think. Question number 8, the Honourable Ruth Dyson. Point. Order. Maybe I should explain myself. I accept the question being asked was a political question, and the Minister was perfectly entitled to give a political answer, but political answers shouldn't go on forever. And when I heard the Minister start to say, add further what I can tell the member, further stuff, I felt the House had heard enough. Point of order, is it Keith Locke?
That's right. The interjection from behind several times was take your pills full. I think that sort of interjection is not something we should hear in this House. It's not. It's.
Well, order. I think when questions, I'm on my feet. When questions get highly political and answers get highly political, interjections get more political. And I think if I were to rule out every little interjection like that, the place would become pretty sterile. And while I accept the member makes a good point, members should not be unnecessarily unkind to each other. The reality of life is that at times they're less than perfect. Where did we get to? I think it was question number 8, the Honourable Ruth Dyson.
My question is to the